Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and welcome back to another video. And this is my long-term review of the Xbox Series X, which launched at the end of 2020. I wanted to give you my updated thoughts, covering what I like, dislike, and any improvements I would like to see. Now, over the last year, we have seen some new updates to the user interface, new controllers and accessories, as well as incredible new games. We've even seen the release of the expansion card if you want to increase your available storage. So if you're still looking for a Series X, hopefully today's video will give you an idea of what it's like. But if you've got an Xbox already, drop a comment below telling me your favourite game that you're playing right now or what you're looking forward to this year. Okay, first up, let's talk about games, and more importantly, Game Pass. Now, we know most of the games available on the Series X can also be played on the Series S, the older Xbox One and PC, but don't underestimate how good they look on here, especially the games that have been optimised for the Series X. We've seen a few Xbox releases throughout the last year, including Forza Horizon 5, Halo and Flight Simulator, which all look incredible. With Forza, whether you're playing it in quality mode running at 4K 30, or performance mode which runs at a lower resolution but 60 frames per second, it just looks incredible. Now, this game for me is one of, if not the best game on the Xbox right now. The car sounds, the open world, the visuals and the story mode are all decent. Now, one of the biggest advantages of the Series X over the Series S is the support for 4K. Games like Back 4 Blood, Halo, Dirt 5 and Forza Horizon 5 all look incredible in 4K. And the fact that the Series X is capable of running games at 4K and it supports 120 frames is insanely good. Now, although a lot of games do hit that 4K resolution on the Series X, not all of these games will support 120 frames. Some of the games that I've tested that do support 120 frames have included Dirt 5, Gears 5 and Warzone. There is a drop in resolution when using this mode as you're not getting 4K unfortunately, but it still doesn't look bad. On the whole, we've not really seen that many exclusive games for Xbox in the last year, but that doesn't matter because we've got Game Pass. So over the last year, I've been paying for Game Pass Ultimate, which basically means for about £11 or $15 per month, you get access to the entire Game Pass library. Now, I actually spend quite a lot of time playing games on the PlayStation 5, but as you'll probably know, every new PS5 game that launches you need to pay for. And at about £50 to £70 a go, it soon adds up. Now with Game Pass though, every new Xbox game is added at no additional cost on day one. So Forza Horizon 5, which would normally cost what, £50 to £60? Nothing extra. Halo and Flight Simulator, the same again. But it's not just Xbox exclusive games either. We've seen new games added that I would normally have bought on the PlayStation 5. And the fact that I get to play them kind of for free on the Xbox is incredible. Games like Rainbow Six Extraction. This game is available on the PlayStation 5 too, but the fact that I can play it on day one via Game Pass is a game changer. Now obviously Game Pass isn't actually free, so these games aren't free as such, but once you've downloaded 2 to 3 decent games, you've pretty much paid for it. That's without even considering the EA Play access that's also included, so games like Need for Speed Heat, Dirt 5, Mass Effect and loads more. And then with the recent news of the Activision Blizzard acquisition, this will be massive for Xbox. Now what that means moving forwards for exclusive games on Xbox or day one releases on Game Pass, who really knows at this stage? But either way, the fact that Xbox could potentially have a whole library of existing and future games on their platform is just going to be awesome. Hopefully this doesn't have a negative impact on PlayStation, but I guess only time will tell. Can we actually assume that games like Call of Duty will be released on Game Pass for day one? But it's not just about the new or optimised games, it's also about how well the Xbox can play older games too. The fact that the Series X can play almost every previous game for the Xbox, Xbox 360 and Xbox One is insane. Not only from a Game Pass perspective, but from a physical library point of view. Now I sold most of my old games years ago, but just last weekend my son wanted to buy a physical 360 game for about £5. It's awesome that we're still able to buy, install and play these older games without the need to keep those consoles. Just pop the disc in, download the game file and updates and it's good to go. As far as the look and design of the Xbox Series X goes, it's not a bad looking console. I've said this before, but with its clean and minimal design, it means it can be placed pretty much anywhere. Whether I'm using it on my shelves and plugged into my TV, or on my desk setup, it looks pretty good. I think it looks better stood up rather than lying down. But the fact that you can decide and you can flip it either way without the need for a stand or additional mount is awesome. The vent on the top has a little pop of green, which I think adds a nice colour to the overall dark design. I also like the fact that it came in black as standard, so it means I didn't need to wrap it or change the colour. It actually looks good as it is. The performance of the Series X has been absolutely awesome, it's rapid. Not only have games looked insanely good at either 4K or 120 frames, everything just runs silky smooth. Whether it's booting it up, navigating the menus, or jumping between games, it really has been effortless. Now, the fact that it supports VRR, or the variable refresh rate, means that if you're using a TV or monitor that can handle this, you're going to get a near perfect tear-free gaming experience. I don't think I've ever seen a frame drop while playing, or at least not enough to remember. But it's not just the overall running of the games that's impressed me this year, it's the quick resume feature. I've said it before, but this is a true next-gen feature. Being able to jump from one game to the next in a matter of seconds is awesome. It doesn't just load the game up though, it resumes exactly where you were last playing. Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but if you are jumping between multiple games, you don't need to worry about loading the game save. Over the last year, we've already seen a handful of new controllers released, including the Pulse Red and the Shock Blue. I think these were the first two that I bought. After that, I got the Scuff Instinct Pro controller with the removable faceplates. Then later, we saw the 20th anniversary controller and the Forza Horizon 5 edition. I actually did dedicated videos on both the Scuff and the 20th anniversary controllers, which I have linked to below. As for the controllers themselves, they still feel great and I'm a huge fan of the triggers. And even after a year, I can say I've had no issues with any of the controllers, there's no stick drift. Now, my children use the Xbox a lot more than I do, and the Pulse Red one is used by my son practically every day. And the fact that it still looks and works like new says a lot about how well they're made. When it comes to charging the controllers, I'm still using the PowerA dock and battery packs. These are perfect as it means I've always got one or two controllers docked and ready to go. Now, these are all of the controllers that I've got so far, but I'm still really tempted to pick up an Elite controller. Not only to do a hands-on review, but to compare it to the Scuff. If you're interested in knowing my thoughts on the Elite controller, drop those in the comments and I might pick one up next month. When it comes to the available storage on the Xbox Series X, it's not bad. It has a 1TB drive, of which around 800GB are usable. Now, in the first few months, this wasn't really an issue, as there weren't that many games I needed or wanted to install. But as my children and I have started to download more, I found myself needing to delete games more frequently. Now, although you can actually use an external drive to store your games on, you cannot play games from that drive if they are optimized for the Series X or S. So games like Forza Horizon 5 and Back 4 Blood. The only external drive at the moment that is supported is the Seagate expansion card. I'm using the 1TB option, but it's also available in a 512 and a 2TB too. But these are not cheap, but if you need to expand the storage on your console, these are very useful. Plus, these are stupidly small and they won't take up any USB ports on the back of the console. By adding this card, it has more than doubled my available storage, which hopefully should mean I won't need to delete any more games this year. If you are interested in knowing more about these, I have linked to these in the description. Now, as much as I would like to have seen a new dashboard or a completely new design, I have gotten used to it now. It doesn't feel next gen to me, but it is functional. It's fast, snappy, and feels fluid when navigating around. One of my biggest criticisms I had last year was the resolution of the dashboard. It looked terrible. The images and the text looked blurry as they were not running at 4K. Now, this meant as you were jumping between games and the dashboard, it looked pretty jarring. But in October or November last year, we did see the 4K update. To most, this might not seem like a big deal, but to me, this was a very noticeable and decent update. Everything now looks cleaner and sharper, especially the text. The quick menus and the additional settings all look nice, and I'd say everything feels user-friendly. Another new feature that we saw is being able to adjust the brightness of the controller and the console light. So if you're using your Xbox at night to watch movies, you don't need to worry about having the lights on. You can actually turn it completely off. Now, the Series X does have a disk drive on the front. It's not something that I use that often, as I buy and play my games and movies digitally, but I do have a handful of movies that I have played on here. It will play DVDs, Blu-rays and Ultra HD Blu-rays as well as games. So if you are planning on using it for movies, the disk drive is incredibly quiet. The Xbox app has definitely gotten better over the last year. It's also been able to see who's online just by glancing at your friends list or your notifications. You can see things like your friends requests or any updates. Now, to get the most out of the app, you definitely want to link it to your console. And once you've done that, you're able to view your game captures straight from the console via the app. You can also see all of the games you've got installed, how much storage they're taking up, and you can manage them from within the app. On top of that, if you wanted to download a new game from Game Pass or the store, just search for it and you can download it straight to the console within a few clicks. I'd actually go as far to say that the mobile app is easier to use than the console, especially when it comes to searching for games or viewing your library. I actually really like the app. So during the earlier months, I had an issue where my controllers would randomly disconnect. I had to then reboot the Xbox entirely for them to start working. This only happened in the first few months and it must have been fixed via an update. But other than that, I have had no other problems with the Series X. It loads up first time every time, it's never crashed on me and it's been pretty easy to use. Now there's only one single improvement that I would like to see, but it's more of a UI thing than anything else. So your most recently used games or apps show up across the top, and that's absolutely fine. But if someone else logs into their account on your Xbox and plays a game, it still shows up on your recently played list. It means every time that my children use the Series X, any games that they play, including Roblox or Minecraft, it will then show up across the top even though I've never played these games. I know it's only a very minor request, but that's pretty much it. Right, so these are my final thoughts on the Xbox Series X. Over the last year, it has really shown just how capable this console is, and we've not really even scratched the surface. Games like Forza and even Flight Simulator have looked very, very impressive and run incredibly smoothly. It's quiet, fast, and the quick resume feature is a literal game changer. But what really amazes me is Game Pass and what the future holds for Xbox. Being able to get a huge library of games on day one, as well as the possibility of cross-plat games, especially at no extra cost, is awesome. So the bottom line is, if you're looking for a new Xbox and you want that 4K or 120Hz, the Series X is definitely the way to go. But if you're not sure whether to go for the Series X or the Series S, I actually did a review on the Series S a few months ago, so you can check that out next. Well, that was my long-term review on the Xbox Series X. Thank you for watching. And if you drop a Series X with a little green heart in the comments, I will give you a thumbs up. And here's another couple of videos you might be interested in watching next. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss my next upload. You can also follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.